Hello dear students, welcome to Cyber, the new session of class 9 physics. In the last class, we have discussed about the different types of forces, the effects of forces and the examples, the unbalanced force, balanced force, everything. And today we are going to discuss about the Newton's laws of motion. So actually the Newton has given 3 laws to describe the relation between the force and motion of objects. So let's begin with Newton's first law. Newton's first law. So what is Newton's first law? By definition we can say that every body continues its state of rest or of uniform motion along a straight line unless it is compelled by an external unbalanced force. That is an important point, external unbalanced force. So that is what we call Newton's first law. Once again, every body continues its state of rest or of uniform motion along a straight line unless it is compelled by an external unbalanced force acting on it. Okay. So, actually this law can be divided into two, that is the state of rest. The first point, the state of rest, and the second point, that is state of motion. State of motion. So then what is state of rest and state of motion? These are the two different parts of the first law. So I just imagine that a large table is here and I just placed one small notebook on the table. A small notebook on the table. So here we know that this book is already on the table, that is under the state of rest condition. Then what do you mean by the state of rest condition? State of rest means stationary, there is no movement. So here in this case, there is no movement. So we can say that this particular notebook is under the state of rest. So I just applied certain amount of force. For example, pushing force, pulling force, lifting force, anything. Whenever I am applying certain amount of force to the system, as a result of the applied unbalanced force, sometimes there will be a small change in the state of motion or state of rest. Right? Yes. For example, I am just lifting this notebook. Means I just applied certain amount of force to the system. As a result, the notebook lifted up. Right? So we can say that force is applied and that applied force is unbalanced force. So a change in state of rest occurs there. Right? Yes. That is about the state of rest. Then the second part, the state of motion. For example, a football is there, so on the floor. I just kicked this football from this side. So we know that as a result of kick, what happens? By using that force, the ball starts moving in this direction. And also we know that this particular ball is already in contact with the floor. Therefore, the force of friction takes place there. The force of friction will develop there. Right? So normally we know that after reaching a certain distance, the ball comes to the state of rest. Right? Because of the external applied force, that is frictional force. Right? Suppose you just imagine there is no force of friction and there is no air resistance. If it is like that, what will happen? Definitely the ball will move, that ball will not stop. Definitely the ball would go on forever. It will not stop. So here we can say that external force is the force of friction. Clear? Okay, that is about the second part of the law. So the state of rest and state of motion. Clear? Okay. The next term is what we call inertia. What is inertia? Inertia is the tendency of an object to remain in its state of rest or of uniform motion. That is what we call inertia. And this inertia It always depends on the mass of the body. It always depends on the mass of the body. For example, you just consider two bodies having different mass. First body and the second body. And here you can see that the first body has more mass as compared to the second body. Right? So we can say that the first body has more mass, therefore the first body has more inertia. At the same time, the second body has less mass, therefore the second body has less inertia. Right? Or in other words, we can say that the heavier objects have more inertia than the lighter objects. The point is that the inertia is always depends on the mass of the system or the body. Okay. Clear? Yes. Again, this inertia can be divided into three. The first one, inertia of rest. Second one, inertia of motion. And third one, inertia of direction. So inertia can be divided into three: inertia of rest, inertia of motion, and inertia of direction. The first one, inertia of rest. What is inertia of rest? Inertia of rest means it is a tendency of a body to remain in its state of rest. That is what we call inertia of rest. For example, when a car or bus starts suddenly, the passengers fall backward. What is the reason? When the bus or car starts suddenly, our lower part of the body moves along with the bus or car. At the same time, our upper part of the body tries to remain the state of rest. That is why we fall backward when the bus or car starts suddenly. That is an example for inertia of rest. Another example, suppose you are shaking a small tree. Okay, so whenever you are shaking the small tree, the body of the tree starts moving to and fro very fastly, right? But at the same time, the fruits and leaves of the tree tries to remain the state of rest. As a result, what will happen there? The fruits and leaves falls down. It's another example for inertia of rest. And the second one, inertia of motion. What is inertia of motion? It is the tendency of a body to remain in its state of motion. That is what we call inertia of motion. For example, when a running car or bus stops suddenly, the passengers fall forward. What is the reason? Whenever the running bus or car stops suddenly, our lower part of the body comes to the state of rest immediately, right? But at the same time, the upper part of our body tries to remain the state of motion. That is why we fall forward when the running car or bus stops suddenly. That is the reason. It's an example for inertia of motion, right? And third one, inertia of direction. What is inertia of direction? It is the inability of a body to change its direction by itself. That is called inertia of direction. For example, when a car or bus takes a large turning, our body moves towards the side. That's an example for inertia of direction. Clear? Once again, I will recollect all the points. Today we discussed mainly about the first law of motion. First law of motion says that every body continues its state of rest or of uniform motion along a straight line unless it is compelled by an external unbalanced force. And this particular law has two parts. The first one, state of rest and state of motion. And for state of rest, we discussed explained this example, and for state of motion we discussed this particular example. Clear? Yes. Then again, inertia. Inertia is a tendency of a body or a system to remain in state of rest or of uniform motion along a straight line. That is called inertia. Clear? And this inertia is always depends on the mass of the system or mass of the body. Means the heavier objects will have more inertia than the lighter objects. And this inertia can be divided into three: inertia of rest, inertia of motion, and inertia of direction. And also we discussed the examples of this inertia. And I hope that all the points that we discussed today is clear for you. And after watching this video, you have to find out more examples of this inertias. Or the inertia of rest, inertia of motion, inertia of direction.